and fears of life and the struggles of just trying to figure things out. But it created a hunger in me to know, like, if happiness and success is possible, I'm going to find out how. And then as I started learning and applying those things, it totally transformed my whole life.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are super excited to continue our conversation with Greg Denning. And if you haven't checked it out, you got to go back and listen, watch. He's freaking super awesome. And so to start, I would love to start this podcast by having you, Greg, to share your background, your history. And, it like just touches my heart that you started off with nothing and were living on the street. So I would love for you to actually fill in the details of that, which you did not go into in the last episode. So we'll start there and then work our way forward.
Yeah, thanks. I'm so excited. Because of a broken family experience, stepdad's coming and going, I ended up on my own. And there was times when I was homeless. I didn't have any place to stay. And I was trying to get a job wherever I could at a gas station in a really bad part of town, right? Or bussing tables at a little restaurant, or just anything to try to make ends meet. And, those were seriously tough years. Now I look back at them with like gratitude, and that I went through the hard things and learned such great lessons and was real touched life in a very raw and real and challenging way. But I was broke. Broke.
Where were you? Like, you were homeless? Were you homeless?
So there was times, where I left home and I was trying to figure things out. I tried to go live with a sibling, and unfortunately there was a lot of drugs and alcohol and terrible stuff involved. And then I tried to get in an apartment or share a house or go here. And a couple of times, this is amazing. A couple of times there was good families that heard about my story, and they just literally opened their doors to me. And they said, you know what, you need a place to stay for a few weeks. Come stay with us. And that, man, to this day, just so proud. There's so many good people. They're so helpful and so generous and so loving, and would go out of their way to help. And so I went through those years. I was super shy, really reclusive, insecure, just fearful. I experienced depression and the anxieties and fears of life and the struggles of just trying to figure things out. But it created a hunger in me to know, like, if happiness and success is possible, I'm going to find out how. And then as I started learning and applying those things, it totally transformed my whole life. I went from being totally broke and ignorant and just wondering how I was going to get my next meal, to now this opportunity to travel the world with my whole family and experience the wonders of the world and go through things that, like, I didn't even dream of this stuff. I didn't even know it existed before. And now we're living it. Right. And
most people don't even know.
Right.
Now.
Right. The coolest thing is, here's the coolest thing. Like, I say this all the time. If I can do it, then anyone can do it, because I'm not that exceptional. It's just, there's this recipe, there's this formula. And if we learn the pieces of the formula and we apply them, then we can literally create total transformations in our lives and live the life that each of us uniquely wants to live. It doesn't have to be travel or whatever, but we can create the life we just absolutely love.
So when you were destitute, were there times that you just wanted to give up? And you mentioned earlier that you had sibling that was into drugs and alcohol. Did you ever go that direction at all?
Good question. There was times I wanted to give up. In fact, I remember a time period I'm like, what's the point of living? Honestly, it's like, it seems so futile. It seems so discouraging and hopeless. Boy, I think the worst feelings in the world are loneliness and hopelessness. Oh man, that was terrible. Interestingly, I don't know why. I guess I give credit to God and just when I was in those situations, I was surrounded by people who were in drugs and alcohol and crime and domestic violence and all kinds of crazy addictions and things. For some reason, as a 16-year-old, I looked around and I'm like, I don't see how any of that will help my situation.
That's awesome.
Yeah, unique. I didn't touch it. I didn't go there. And I guess maybe my siblings were an example. They're still just suffering with drug addictions and alcohol addictions. And I was able to just look around and say, I don't think that's going to help me. And I don't want to stay here. I want to change. And so I was able to stay away from that and kind of climb out of those situations.
That's amazing. That's with your own fortitude.
Yeah. And that you came from a place like almost like a rock bottom early, and then you dug your way out. Did you ever have a mentor or a coach or somebody to help you along that way? Or did you just do it all on your own?
That's a great question. I literally was thinking about that earlier this morning. I was like, man, I wish I would have had a coach like early on. This would have cut years off the journey.
Yeah,
but
right.
Somebody could have just told me not to do that or tell me to do this. That would have been so fast. But my journey was the slow way. And so, yes, I had mentors, but in the form of books. Early on, it was shortly after I moved out on my own. I found this copy of this book. It didn't even have a cover on it. It was this old tattered book. And I started to read it. And it was called The Hiding Place by Corey ten Boom. And it's
Don't know it.
Oh my goodness. That's life-changing.
Okay. We have to put it in our show notes for everybody.
It's so good.
Yes.
It was this family living in Holland during World War II. And they got captured for helping some Jews escape. And they got taken into concentration camps. And so that author, Corey ten Boom, she became my first kind of mentor. And then somehow I got a copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People. And man, did I need that book, right? I got to learn how to connect with people, build relationships. And then somebody gave me a copy of The Power of Positive Thinking. And then I got As a Man Thinketh. And then Man's Search for Meaning. And I just started to build this library of these great books. And they became my mentors and coaches. And so it was a slower process. And every once in a while, somebody put their arm around me, right, and say, hey, you got this. You can do this. Keep your head up. Keep going. Try this. And it was those touch points in those books that changed the course of my life. And it's really giving me this drive and purpose and mission to give back and to share what I've learned with others, because there's things that just work for all of us.
And again, for those that had not watched our last episode, what you don't know is that Greg has 7 kids, the first of which was adopted. So did you always want to adopt because of your actual background, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I did. So early on, when I was reaching my 20s, I thought, I think I want to adopt because I came from a rough situation. I saw lots and lots of children born into rough situations. I thought, I want to adopt. And as has now become part of our life philosophy, Rachel and I are very ready, fire, aim people. And we grab something, we just dive in. And so we'd only been married a year. And we're like, you know what? Let's adopt. And our daughter is African-American. And part of that process was we learned how many African-American babies were just needed homes. Yes. And had been born into some really, really tough situations. And so we're like, you know what, sweetheart, let's adopt. Let's get a baby and give her a better life and a better shot at life. So yeah,
How old was she?
She was 5 days old.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. So her mom had lived some really, really difficult, drugs and alcohol and in the ghettos. And so there's been some challenges and struggles along there, but it was a beautiful, beautiful journey. It still is.
Wow.
Right? Still is.
That's awesome. All right. And now, Tanya, before we dropped off the last conversation, you had this beautiful, awesome, exciting question. Do you remember what that was?
I think, yeah. So I think I just wanted to know, were we talking about relationships at that point or kids? I don't know. I can't remember.
Yes.
Do you remember the question?
All of it.
I remember the question because I thought of the answer. I was like, oh yes.
Great.
So it's this idea. We're talking about marriages, and you're like, what are these little nuggets, these aha moments where things clicked? They clicked for us, right? And I remember kind of going in the marriage journey of trying to figure out how to live with another human being and stay in love.
Yes.
Right. And this one's critical. I see it a lot. We lose the spark and the passion and the romance in our marriages. And, after several years, it's easy to slip into this pattern of like just living as roommates. And then you're like, ooh, this blah. You lose the excitement of it. So here's an aha we had that it just clicked. And one day Rachel was able to articulate it. We were talking and she's like, you know what? She's like, my mind is like a computer browser with lots of open tabs. And she's like,
Yes.
I've got all these tabs open, right? And if you have too many open tabs, like the little ball, the little processing ball, you're like,
Yes,
no.
yes.
And she's like, I got all this stuff going on. And the male brain is like, what's the problem here? Like I can compartmentalize everything. Like I've got this problem and I'll just set it aside and we can do this or do that. I can separate it. And she was like, one night, she's like, I can't. I have all these open tabs and I've got to close some tabs before I can focus on other things. And that didn't make sense to me because my mind didn't operate like that. But I realized that's how her mind operates. She's got all these open tabs and she has to close some tabs before she works on other things. That was a game changer for me. It totally transformed the way we connect and work together. And in fact, specifically for sex and intimacy, right? You're like, well, come on, babe. And she's like, well, I've got all these open tabs. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, but once I understood that, now we work together. And I'm like, and I'll even ask, like, what are your open tabs? What are some things you're thinking about? And sometimes she'll need to talk through them. Sometimes she'll need to, hey, this needs to be done. And we work together, understanding each other now. And she understands me. She understands how my mind works and what my needs and desires are. And having that understanding was totally transformational in our marriage. Like just to get her.
So women are often, we pride on being multitaskers, but I think we're just really good single taskers, really. Like, it's just that we have so many things like yours. I love that analogy, like the open tabs, we have to just kind of close them down and focus and learn a little bit from that kind of single tasking, must hunt, bring back food kind of, I am man, I guess, so that we can actually focus and just close that all down. So I love that you address it so that it can be moved on and that you're just open to that. And I'm sure you help other men be aware of this because it's something, again, going back to that intimacy in the bedroom where, you're basically saying like you have the conversation before the connection and that's part of that, right? So that it's wonderful. I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
I love it too. I just want to add in though. So I'm going to counter it a wee bit. So as women, we are designed to multitask, right? So men, if we're going to go back to the hunter-gathering days, the men are the hunters, women are gatherers and take care of a child and, look for danger in the moment while the men are out. So we are wired for that. It's just, I think in our modern day culture, it's just, we have way too many tabs open. Like I can tell you right now, I've got like 15 tabs open on my computer. My husband looks at me like, who the heck are you? Like, why do you have, no, I need to keep them up.
Right.
Don't close those.
But don't close those. But I think what you're addressing though too is like, I think it's okay to have some tabs open. It's just not so many that you have that little swirly circle thing that you're talking about. Does that make sense?
It's like addressing the mental load and helping her with the mental load, right? So that she either addresses it or closes it. And to be intimate, you can't be multitasking when you're intimate. I mean, you could, but like you want to be focused and present and 5 senses, like be very together. But if you're like thinking, well, 7 kids, I can imagine the mental load, like of all these things with each child, and all the, like, do you guys keep did you, follow, what's the woman's name who basically declutters and like keeps everything in its spot and like you
Marie.
kind of
Marie
Kondo.
Yes.
Marie
So do you guys follow her and
totally.
get the kids involved to organize?
Yep. We would sit down, right? Whenever we kind of settle in an area for a while, we'll sit down and we'll like have the kids watch an episode. You know what we did? It was super funny. We'd watch an episode of Hoarders first and then an episode and it's just like,
that's brilliant.
Like, okay, I'm getting rid of stuff.
That's good. Well, and you would have to in your lifestyle because you guys travel from place to place. I mean, do you have a place that you actually call home, or is it my home is where we are in the moment?
So the bulk of it is that, like wherever we settle down, we're going to call that our space. And it's interesting. We've all, as a family, we've become accustomed to that, right? And we've set up home bases. So we have a place we rented in the States, and we actually have a house in Guatemala. And our dream is to have a chateau in the French Alps. That's kind of where we're moving next once the world kind of opens up. But I want to share a principle that I think will be helpful for all families, no matter our circumstances or situations. At first we kind of went minimalist, right? We're like, well, traveling, you can't take a ton of stuff. But then we switched to what we call like essentialism. And you only keep in your life the things that really bring value to you, the things that are meaningful. Because, and I'm sure most of us can relate to this, it's easy to get too much stuff. And then you're taking care of your stuff and thinking about your stuff and moving your stuff and packing your stuff and cleaning your stuff and insuring your stuff. And you're like Thoreau said, your possessions begin to possess you. And so if we can get it down to like, what's essential, what really matters, what's important, and keep that in our lives and cut out the rest, it actually frees up a ton of space for all of us to feel like we have more freedom and more space and more control and less chaos. Super.
And that's beyond the physical realm too, right? I mean, what gets reflected around you becomes part of who you are as a human being.
Yes.
Right?
Great insight. Yeah.
Just a funny little tangent. I remember reading that back to the Stone Age concept that as women, we're trying to constantly keep things in their place so that if a predator is around, we're not going to get hunted. So we want to make sure that we are aware of the predator. And if everything's organized, then, it's like we're less likely to get eaten. And men, again, like we're talking men's brains, men off hunting and then they come back there. So they're less aware. And so it's easier for them to walk past the messy pile. And as soon as I heard that was an aha moment, because I'm like, okay, so less anger at the fact that I'm just going around picking up things and multitasking, like you said, Mary. But then it's like also recognizing you can cross over roles now that we're like Western society in the 2021, and that, but not to be resentful about needing the environment clean and decluttering. And I love not having attachment to things. And then you can actually play with the very few things that you do have, right? Not having attachment, but actually spending time with the one toy, not 10, and then just organizing those 10. You have one toy and you play with that one toy, just that concept.
Yeah, and think how much easier it is to manage all that. Like when you get it down to essential, like I can manage this. And then I love how you said, let's cross those roles. Let's support each other. If I understand how important that is to my wife, I can help her. If she understands what's important to me, she can help me. Oh man, it makes family life amazing.
Yeah. You guys seem to have it totally down. I love it. It's amazing. And I think one of the things that I would love to know is how do your kids, like if this is just a norm for them, so do they when you hang out with other children, or do you find, pre-COVID, are there big differences, or what do you see? Is there a difference between your family and their interactions, or just the family dynamics? I'm just curious.
Oh, such a great question. Early on, we decided, what is it? How do we want to interact with the world and with people? And we talked through it, we worked through it, read about it, and we realized, we want our entire family. So first us as parents and adults, and then our children, to be comfortable with anyone, anywhere. We wanted our kids to be able to sit in a hut in India on the dirt floor with a family who has virtually nothing, and be totally comfortable to connect with them and see them, as the beautiful, wonderful, inspiring people they are. We wanted our children also to be able to, be in a mansion with millions and millions of dollars, or on a yacht, or on a private island, and be comfortable there as well, and everything in between. In fact, one of my personal definition for social leadership is to be able to have a meaningful conversation with anyone, anywhere, at any time. Mm. And so we've been really conscious and deliberate about cultivating that and modeling it and helping our kids have conversations across culture, across religion, across politics, different views, perspectives across wealth and different demographics. And so, sometimes it's a little difficult because if a youth has had only one experience their entire life, and my son rolls in, he's like, yeah, we've circled the globe. and you're like, what? That's crazy. But they find ways to connect. And we talk through that. We work through it. We want to be able to just connect with people everywhere. And so our kids are actually, don't misunderstand me. I'm not boasting or bragging. We've just been talking about training and conditioning. So our kids are super confident, and they'll roll in and they'll talk to people and make friends wherever we go. And so our children literally have friends all over the globe.
That's awesome. And you have a course for families, right? What is that program called? Extraordinary Family.
This Extraordinary Family Life Formula. This was several years ago. We sat down. We're like, what are the common denominators that every family in every situation or lifestyle? What are the common denominators that we can all use to just have more of the things we want? Less stress, less burden, less conflict, more joy, more peace, more happiness, more connection. And so we came up with the Extraordinary Family Life Formula. And so we kind of put that into a course that we have, and we have actually group coaching built around that. But it just takes, I'll give you a real basic rundown. And it takes, we call it the fundamental 5, right? And it's you first, working on yourself, then your marriage, then your parenting, then your family culture, and then your family finances. And we found that if you apply the basic principles and practices that just work in those 5 areas, it starts to build this family lifestyle and family culture that is smooth and productive, and you're moving in the direction you want instead of feeling like you're always stuck or trapped.
I love it. And this, points to when we were talking earlier, it's like, gosh, I wish I had a coach when I was younger, so I had less suffering. So you're actually creating these courses for people who have less suffering in their family. And then it prevents, breakups. Instead of leaning away, it's like everybody leans in, right?
Everyone's thriving.
And thriving. So I love that. Thank you for creating this. And maybe, if you want to get in touch with Greg Denning on Instagram, you can go to greg.denning, find him there. And I guess all your particulars on there so that they can reach out and find you. So that's awesome.
I'm excited to listen to his podcast too, the Extraordinary Family Life podcast, right? So in addition to those courses, he's got a podcast going. It's amazing.
Maybe we can jump on that one too. We'll do a little chat there. So our time is nearly up, but again, every time we conclude, we love asking what fills your cup today. So let's do that. And then before we do that, I just want to announce that Dr. Tanya and I, when we're talking about having a great family life, we also created a program, online program in the very bite-sized modules for postpartum women, because who the heck has enough time to watch a course for like an hour at a time, right? So it's like totally doable bite-sized chunks to help you thrive in the moment, even when you think, holy cow, I can't do this, right? So you can look to that, more about that on embraceyoufirst.com. So with that, Greg, tell us what has filled your cup in this moment, today, yesterday, your life.
Love it. Before I do that, can I just praise and honor you too, and say thank you for what you're doing? I mean, that course for moms, women, oh man, it's the most important work in the world in my experience. And it's so beautiful. So thank you for what you're doing. It's so special. That's so special.
You're so sweet.
Thank you. You are too. Amazing. Yeah. And that's where we have the mutual love. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to sign my husband up for your master
me
class
too.
for being a man.
Yeah.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It does. It helps men be men. And when they feel more manly and more alive, boy, they show up more for you and for the kids and for the community. It's super special. But to answer your question, as I've been thinking about it, one thing that just fills my heart and soul is to create beautiful memories with my family. If I can take my sweetheart and our kids and we can go, we call ourselves memory gatherers, right? And we're just gathering these memories. It's not a tangible thing. It's not some stuff that'll go old or get stolen or robbed or lost. it's something we'll have with us for the rest of our lives, are these unbelievable memories and special experiences that, again, that can be done from anywhere in the world. You don't have to travel to do this, but you just have to be intentional to do it. Just collect and create memories and experiences as a family. And it's the things we will all cherish the most in life.
Love that.
I love that. Memory gathering. So beautiful. If you loved this podcast, please like it and share and comment and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much, Greg, for joining us.
Thank you. It was amazing.